Welcome to the Peering Podcast, where the best way to see the future is to peer into it together. It's smart talk with a twinkle in its eye, about peer power, leadership agility, and collective intelligence in a world spinning faster every day. Hosted by Mike Richardson and friends, we peer into what it really takes to stay human, stay curious, and stay future ready. Real conversation, where peers get curious, curiosity gets peery, and leadership gets real. So pull up a chair and let's peer into it together.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Peering Podcast. The best way to see the future is to peer into it together. I'm really excited today to have one of my long-time colleagues and friends, Simon Vetter. We'll talk in a moment about how and where we met, I can barely remember, and what he does today amongst many other things, and in particular, his central focus around leading with vision. And so we're going to talk about the challenges. We're going to peer into the challenges of leading with vision for CEOs and executives. We were blessed to have Simon come and speak to my peer forums last year. They ate it up. And so I thought, you know what, let's get Simon back and let's have a deeper conversation about this whole challenge of leading with vision. Simon, welcome to the podcast.
Great to see you, Mike. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Already, everybody, you can tell that we've got some international accents on the podcast today. Obviously, I've got some kind of mangled American English accent. And where's your accent from originally, Simon?
I grew up in Switzerland, in the Swiss-German part. Grew up in Bern, I lived in Zurich, and then I came to San Diego in 1997 to improve my English. And I fall in love with San Diego, and I got a job in sales for Dale Carnegie training. And that's what kind of made us meet about 2000. It was around 2000, 99,
Yeah, so keep going. Tell us, that was going to be my first question. How on earth did you and I meet way back then?
So I got a job in sales with Dale Carnegie training. I became an instructor, and I think you were the CEO of this aerospace company, and you sent people to Dale Carnegie. And so I had people in your from your company teaching leadership skills, communication skills, speaking skills. And then you decided to take the Dale Carnegie course, and I was so honored to be the teacher for you. And so that's how we met.
Yeah, indeed. And so much so, everybody, I'd used Dale Carnegie all across my aerospace division globally from before when I was still back in the UK. And then when I came to America, I used Dale Carnegie again, and actually not only worked with the local Dale Carnegie franchisee, but I flew the British Dale Carnegie franchisee all over the world to work with the local person. And so much so that as I got to know the team here in San Diego, they suggested that I become an instructor myself. And so I went through Dale Carnegie's world-class Train the Trainer program. It was amazing. And started to teach some of the classes myself. And as a result, you got to know Simon even more. And then Simon, you decided after a while, what year was it in which you decided to kind of go independent and launch yourself as a portfolio professional? When was that?
It was 2001. I left, start my own shop, and I started doing leadership development, coaching. I met my mentor, Marshall Goldsmith, and really learned a lot around how do you create positive, lasting change in behavior. And through that network, I got very early involved in large scale coaching programs at Dell and J&J, and then I was a coach at Microsoft for over 10 years, and now at Qualcomm and AbbVie and big companies. And it's one of my client portfolio of big companies where I really help leaders to be more effective and create changes for themselves personally, for their teams, and for their company. And so I did a lot of coaching, a lot of team development, working in companies globally, in Europe, in the US. and I have also local clients, and really focused on behavioral change, and which I love. But then in 2016, my colleague Bonnie Hageman and I decided to write a book. And the book is about leading with vision, because some of the research we have done in over 500 companies is that leading with vision was one of the most important, most critical leadership competencies of next generation leaders. And so we said, hey, if that's so important, who does it well? So we wrote a book, we did research, and we went out there looking for companies with a compelling vision, and we had a hard time finding those companies.
Go figure.
And what we also found is it's one of the most important skills, but also one of the least developed skills in organizations. And so I got on this path to really dive into it and say, okay, what is it about leading with vision? What does it take? And how do you develop that skill? And so my key focus now is really going to companies and help leaders be more visionary.
Beautiful.
And the key is really helping people answer the question, where are we going?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Where are you going?
Yeah.
And so where are you going with your career? Where are you going with your life? Where are you going with your team? Where are you going with your company? Because people want to be part of an organization that has a compelling, aspiring, desirable future.
Beautiful. So we'll come back to that. We'll dive into all of that, everybody. But let's just join up some dots here. So we hear some great brand names in Simon's journey here. We heard obviously Dale Carnegie, which is a global, awesome, leadership development organization, and it traces its roots back to, Dale Carnegie himself, who wrote his first book, something like 1936 or something. How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's one of the classics, and if you haven't read it, listeners, it is worth a read and or a listen. Dale Carnegie himself was almost the original self-help guru, wasn't he? Right, from which so many others, spun out.
He's one of them with Napoleon Hill. They're probably the ones who really started this whole personal development, self-help industry. And Dale Carnegie's second book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, is still a bestseller, and it's very relevant still today. So,
and then we heard some company brand names, that Simon has worked with, and then we heard Marshall Goldsmith. And, I remember actually, Simon, as I was getting involved with Dale Carnegie, globally and using them all over the world, I won an award. I won the annual Dale Carnegie Global Leadership Award in 1999, and put forward, nominated by that British Dale Carnegie franchisee. And I got to speak at the annual Dale Carnegie convention, which in December 99 happened to be in Seattle. And, I saw Marshall Goldsmith speak kind of before he was Marshall Goldsmith that everybody came to know. And, then from 99 onwards, he just exploded, didn't he? And he became, one of the most prolific authors, speakers, coaches. Famously, he was the coach to Alan Mulally, the former CEO of Ford, and before that, Boeing Commercial Airplane Division. And wow, you got to hang out with Marshall Goldsmith and be part of his kind of cadre of people. And wow, that must have been a phenomenal experience, Simon.
Yes, it's interesting, when I met him, I just quit at Dale Carnegie, and then my good friend, Johan Van Zyl, he did some travel booking for Marshall Goldsmith. So he said, Simon, you should talk to Marshall. He's one of the top leaders and consultants in the world. So I called his office and I talked to the assistant and said, hey, I'd like to set up a meeting with Marshall, a coffee meeting. And we both live in San Diego. And to my surprise, she said, when?
Sure.
So we set up a Monday morning coffee, and right before she called me and said, oh, he cannot make it, but what about the phone call on Wednesday? So 2:00, he was in St. Louis, he called me. I said, Marshall, I saw you speak. We have mutual connections. What is the vision for your company? He said, that's a great question. I just closed it down. I don't know where we're going, but tomorrow evening, I have a party at my house. Be my guest. And it was the Survivor Africa. His daughter was on that show. And so there were 200 people. And I got to know Marshall and his friends. Yeah. And at the end, I said, what a great party. I want to be part of this group.
Yeah.
And he said, tomorrow morning, 9:00, Fairbanks Ranch, be there.
Nice.
I show up, Marshall and 30 other consultants and coaches. And that day, we decided to create an alliance for leadership development. At the end, everybody put in their name, so did I. And that's how I joined this group of established executive coaches. It's now called Alliance for Leadership Excellence, called Alexel Group. And so that's how I kind of got into the coaching cadre, and I had amazing mentors around me, and I just soaked up as much as I could learn.
Yeah. So then I know you have a story, that your own personal story about leading with vision when you were trying to become successful with Dale Carnegie. Just tell us that story.
So I was in my first year, and I had a revenue target of 200,000. And then if you meet 200,000, you can go to the International Dale Carnegie Conference, which happened to be in Seattle in '99, where you were a speaker.
Yeah.
And so the year ended in August. And in April, we had a 3-day sales program in Dallas. So I was at the end of that sales program, we all had to get up in front of the colleagues and tell why we're going to succeed in sales. And they want to have us really be convinced is what is the winning formula for winning. And then I got up and I said, I'll get 200,000 revenue so I can go to the Dale Carnegie Conference. And I envisioned it's going to be at the Dale Carnegie Conference. I'm standing behind the curtain. My name is called. I walk on stage. 1,000 people cheering me up. I get awarded by the president of Dale Carnegie Training with this sales award. And then as I walk down the stairs, I get pictures taken and cheered by 1,000 people. So I had this picture in my mind. And I said, I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to make that image happen. The biggest challenge I had is end of April, I was at 55% of revenue. And I had 3 more months to go. So I had to bring in 90,000 in 3 months. And somehow every day I got up, and every morning I said, okay, good. Where do I get a revenue? Who can I call? Where can I get a contract? I was so focused because every morning I got up, I had this picture in my mind to be on stage getting awarded. End of August happens. And I somehow got a big contract, and I brought in 205,000, and I got invited to the Dale Carnegie Conference in December. And that picture happened. I got awarded.
Yeah. And we were both there because I was
both there.
I was doing one of the keynote speeches.
So what I learned is really the picture that you can see. It's that image, that ideal picture, that image is a driving force and makes people committed to do whatever it takes. So that's one of the reasons why leading with vision is so powerful.
Yeah, so let's go there now. So let's dive in a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about the book and some of the headline conclusions that the book came to, and then we'll dive into, okay, so what are some of the principles of leading with vision? Why are they so rare and precious? And let's go there. But tell us about the book first. What are the headline conclusions that you came to from the book?
So some of the important aspects of vision is clarity. We got to forge clarity. We got to really be clear in our mind's eye, and then having a clarity about where we're going. And it takes skills to develop clarity. And especially when the uncertainty is there, it's and one of the things I learned is sometimes we have to calm down the mind and distinguish what's an important signal and what's noise. There's so much noise around us, and that's kind of makes us foggy. So we have to clear the fog and really look at what are the important signals, and then develop clarity around that. It's like walking through fog. If you drive through fog, we are reacting, we are slow, we are not taking risk. So we need to clear the fog so we can see clearly and accelerate and go fast. So clarity is important. Another important concept is courage. To forge, to get into the future, we have to have the courage to move to a path that we believe in. And there's courage to be bold, but there's also courage to be vulnerable. And courage comes from the heart. In French, it's le cœur. It's the heart. And it's like, how do we bring our heart into it? And then we want to create a culture that people can support. So we want to create a culture that is supported and safe for people to shape that future.
Yeah.
So there are some of the concepts that are very critical.
And why you said earlier that you went looking for companies that do a great job of leading with vision, and they were very hard to find. Why is it that leading with vision doesn't seem to be that prevalent?
There are a couple of things. One, a lot of the companies, they lead with goals, KPIs, revenue goals, be number one. Goals are important, but goals drive accountability, performance, and it doesn't address the emotional side. So goals are very left brain, digital, analytical, methodical, which is important. But to get people's heart, get people's commitment, we need to address the right side of the brain. And that's the emotional side, that's the pictures, that's the sensory-rich side. And so we need both. We need goals and vision. Many leaders, they lead with goals. They're driving performance. They're meeting performance and they get rewarded for it, but they're burning themselves and their people out. So we need vision that engages people's inspiration and engagement. And then by leading with vision, people are committed. And then we use goals to follow through, create accountability, because I see people are willing to work hard when they're excited about it. But people, if they have too many things, too many priorities, too many projects, they get burned out and they're missing a purpose.
Yeah. One of the reasons why Simon and I align so strongly around all of this, everybody, is, I've been in the field, as Simon knows, for 20 years of agility, enterprise agility, business agility, organizational agility, team agility, leadership agility. And that's a complex topic all of its own. There are many moving parts to getting it right, in what we call an agility operating system. But behind the scenes of that, there are really three core concepts of agility, one of which speaks directly to what you've just said. And that is, agility is an and proposition of being structured and unstructured all at the same time, of being planful and emergent all at the same time, of being sort of tight and loose all at the same time. And in other words, although it's a somewhat of an oversimplification, being left-brained and right-brained all at the same time. The left brain tends to be more logical, linear, analytical. The right brain tends to be more sensory, more holistic, more visual. And we need the combination of both. It's not this or that. It's this and that. And so that's why I love Simon's work, because it maps onto that so well. And as you just said, on the left brain side of the house, it's about leading with goals. And on the right-hand side of the house, it's about leading with vision as an and proposition. We might say, on the right-hand side, leading with strategy and envisioning a future and engaging energy and inspiration and emotion. And on the left-hand side, it's about execution, which is about performance and alignment and the cascade of budgets and forecasts and numbers and quotas and all of that kind of stuff. And when you came and spoke to the groups, Simon, you did a beautiful job of kind of laying out that spectrum visually, not least of all, on a few slides, and laying out the left-hand side of leading with goals and laying out the right-hand side of leading with vision. And I think the light bulb that came on for most people is, you know what? He's right. I mostly lead with goals, and I'm lucky if I scratch the surface of leading with vision. Tell us more about all of that.
So I'll give a very simple exercise. So I invite you to my favorite beach in San Diego. I'll give you two versions. There are
plenty to choose from. Which one are we talking about, Simon?
So imagine you come to San Diego, we go to Pacific Beach. It's noon, it's a beautiful sunny day, it's 80 degrees, you're in your shorts, t-shirts. And as we walk on the sand barefoot, you can feel the sand between your toes. You walk towards the ocean, you can hear the ocean waves. There is the sun in the blue sky. There are 25 pelicans flying in V shape over the water. And you just feel that a little bit of suntan on your skin. And as you walk barefoot, you look back and you see your footprints in the sand. You feel alive and energized.
Nice. I can feel the grains of sand between my toes, and I can smell the salt.
Yeah. So that's number one. Let me give you a second version. I invite you to my favorite beach. We meet at the end of Garnett by the pier. And then on the beach, we walk for 1.3 miles. And then at Mission Bay, we turn around, walk back 1.3 miles, total 2.6 miles. We're going to do 0 elevation, and it will take us 1 hour and 35 minutes. So I used measures. I used specifics. In version 2, which of the versions is more inspiring?
Right.
Of course, number 1, because it's sensory rich, it's emotional, it adds to the senses. And that's why I address the taste, the seeing, the hearing. And when, as a leader, we want to add those elements to describe the future.
Yeah, I love this. And so everybody, yes, the second version, let's meet at this time in this place, walk 1.3 miles south and 1.3 miles north. That's like a specification, right? It's very logical. It's very mathematical. It's very definitive. And we're gonna leave at this time. We're gonna be back. Our goal is to be back by this time here, so that you can go on to your next thing. That's your leading with goals. And keep in mind what we're saying, everybody. It's an and proposition. You need that. You absolutely need that. But no amount of that makes up for a lack of also leading with vision.
So I have an example how that relates to business.
Great, go ahead.
So I was meeting with the owner. I got referred to Mary. She was the owner of marketing agency in San Diego. 25 people, very successful. So I sit down and said, Mary, how are you doing? And she said, Simon, to be honest, I'm overwhelmed. I come in early, I leave late, I work on weekends, I don't have a life. And you could see she was carrying all that burden, that stress from work.
Yep.
She worked like 60, 70 hours. And she said, what I really want is a 2-week vacation in Italy with my family, unplug, no computer, just relax and enjoy my family. And so she said, I don't see that happening. I have to be here. I cannot leave for 2 weeks. And so she was willing to work with me. So I coached her. And the first thing we didn't start working on goals. I had her create that picture in her mind of a 2-week vacation.
Yeah.
And that picture became the leading force of our working together. No charts, no goals, no scorecards. Yeah. It's just having her, okay. And I asked her, good, imagine 2 years from now, you are on that vacation and you're relaxed. What needs to happen at home, at work, that your team can do it without you?
Yeah.
And so she started to delegate. She started to build her team. She started to tell. And so we also created a vision for her team. She laid out in 3 pages what that ideal company looks like. Who are the clients? What's the office looking like? Open and bright colors and playroom. And so she presented that vision to her team, and they said, wow, great. Now I know where we're going. Her team got excited.
Yeah.
And so the team started to make changes and step up and take initiative. 2 years later, she booked a 2-week vacation in Italy, unplugged, no computer, and her team managed the business without her being there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what I love about this is it is that right-brained aspect, and we're bringing it up to play at the same level as the left brain, right? We usually have all the goals and the numbers and the quotas and the specifications. You know, that's often what, especially in the corporate world, you know, of course we do, right? That's the first thing that anybody's going to ask us, and it's all going to be about percentage growth and percentage margin and percentage EBITDA and all this kind of stuff and inventory turns. It's going to be, you know, very left brain mathematical, right? And, you know, on the right hand side of the brain, you know, we use phrases like a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Absolutely.
Right? And we know that at the end of the day, it's all about energy and inspiration and engagement and all of those things. And what you're introducing is the ways in which to activate our right side of our brain to in turn activate the right hand sides of our people's brains. I always in my agility work, you know, I have fun with the idea of, hey, we need to be whole brained, not half brained. Right? Not half-witted. You know, let's make sure that we've got our whole brain in the game. So that's what you're really talking about here. So, Simon, if there's anybody out there, you know, already thinking to themselves, well, this sounds a bit fluffy to me. You know, my boss in my corporate world, you know, wouldn't react well if they, you know, just show me the numbers, right? Just show me the numbers, and all this other stuff is just, you know, fluffy stuff. I don't need to know all of that. Just show me the numbers. What's been your experience of the power of doing this, the benefits of doing this, how the probability factor needle moves in terms of the likelihood of you being successful if you will work the other side of the brain into the equation? What's your experience of all of that?
Yeah, I think one of the best ways is to tell stories or give examples how companies have used this. I was working with a team of 6 executives in the appliance business in the US. Very sharp. They had great MBAs, and I was doing a team workshop, and I could feel that team was not gelling. And when we did discussions, some people were folding arms, looking outside the window, not paying attention. And then we got into discussions, and they started to arguing who has the best ideas. And then I engaged them, and I helped them see how effective they are. So I asked them a question, 1 to 10, how well do we work together? Everybody wrote down anonymously. And 1 to 10, the average answer was a 3. So they acknowledged we are a dysfunctional team. And they lost 20 million in revenue. And so by me telling them we need to do this and this and this, engage people and let them understand how well they're doing. And so then that came, the project is, okay, how do we as a team become a 7 or an 8? And they had to learn to listen to each other. They had to learn to challenge each other in a positive way. They had to learn to trust each other, hold each other accountable. And they start doing that by everybody stepping up and making changes themselves. And then after a year, they started to create a strategy, a plan for the future. They were competing against the Asian companies who are much lower in pricing, and they couldn't compete on the pricing in a retail. So they started creating a strategy to go into home building. And they looked at big projects where they could sell home appliances to whole new towers and new buildings. And they started to differentiate themselves against the competitors. So they created a vision that was distinguished, that was unique, but it required them to work well as a team. And then 3 years later, they went to 30 million plus, and the team started to gel. So I think it's just one story where also it shows for vision, we also need a good, solid teamwork, team spirit. And it's not an individual effort of someone's personal vision. It's a shared vision that we all believe what winning looks like.
Yeah, everybody, obviously, when we do strategic planning, we've typically got some kind of array of mission, vision, values, value proposition, key success measures, core strategies, KPIs, you name it, we've got all of it. So the word vision is in there, right? There's usually a box that we fill in called vision, except one of my favorite things to say to people, when they show me all that stuff, if I'm facilitating them and their team, is I'll point at their vision statement, and most of the time I can say to them, that's not a vision statement. That is just a different form of a mission statement. It doesn't paint a picture of the future. A vision should be a future state. You truly should be able to paint me a picture of it. And it should require, when you're describing it should require you to use words and phrases like picture this, imagine when. And I'm a huge fan, I know you are too, of actually getting people to be visual, to create these visuals, to at the very least, create a pictorial business model, quite possibly have a vision board. I'm a huge fan. Above my screen here, I'm looking up at my vision board that has served me so well for the 25 years that I've been an independent portfolio professional, pretty much the same time that you went independent. I did. I slightly after you. And, I've got images and cuttings and collages of things that compound into, I can truly point at that and say, that is where I'm going. That is where I want to be.
I got the same. In front of me, I printed out my vision board. I have different parts of my life, my health, my relationships, my romance, then my business side, and I have pictures. I can see it right here.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's visual. It's a future ideal picture.
So everybody, if listeners, if you notice yourself being a little bit skeptical right now, that's okay. That's fine. That's good. That's kind of why we do podcasts like this, because we want to just get you thinking and opening up a little bit. If they want to read more, Simon, about the power of leading with vision, where can they find you? Where can they find your book, etc.?
I'm on LinkedIn, Simon Vetter. You will find me. Happy to connect. The book is called Leading with Vision.
Yeah.
This is the
and
book
if you're
here.
watching the video version of this podcast episode, Simon is holding that up on the screen right now. And what's your website, Simon?
And my website, my name, simonvetter.com, V-E-T-T-E-R.
V-E-T-T-E-R.
Yeah, it's like
Simon
better
Vetter.
with a V, like better with Vetter.
Yeah.
And I do more postings. I talk more about. I have my podcast starting called The Vision Architect. I'm gonna have you featured there. So look me up online. I love to connect, and I'm excited about this topic, but it's not an easy topic.
Yeah.
And so we really have to make space for it. We have to make time for it. And it takes creativity. It takes courage. It takes also a way for deep thinking.
Yeah.
And deep thinking is often something that we are missing these days. We're running around so fast that we are not making time for allowing thinking about the important questions.
Yeah. You know, Simon, well, because you came and spoke to my forums, I've been doing peer forums now for 23, 24 years. And I just did my peer forum earlier this week on Tuesday afternoon up here in Temecula with 17 CEOs in the room. And it was our first meeting, since the holidays. And in our December meeting, I got them, doing some work. I gave them some simple templates. We do it at a winery, so there's all kinds of places around the property where they can go and find a quiet space. I sent them away for an hour to just leave their phones here, leave your phones here, go away for an hour with these simple templates, find yourself somewhere quiet and just reflect on this sense of direction and picture of the future, a vision for yourself of what do you want to have, what do you want to do, who do you want to be in business, professionally and personally, and how does all of that align with your sense of your passionate purpose and your why, and go away and scribble and get messy and come back and share with the group in terms of, well, what's shaping up for you, what's clearing through the fog, what instincts are you getting about where true north is for you in this next phase. So just getting them to connect with that right side of their brain, as you said, a much more sensory exercise. And then I sent them away for the holidays to be sort of percolating on all of that and letting their right brain continue to turn over the holidays. And then what I teed up after the holidays, in the run up to the meeting we just had earlier this week, is okay, now that you've done that right-brained work, it's not finished, it's not perfect, it's still a work in progress, but you got your right brain spooled up, and you can almost see it, you can taste it, you can smell that future that you want. Then I had them come back and I had them do an exercise on Tuesday afternoon, where in the context of all of that, they then crystallized 3 breakthrough goals for 2026. What is your breakthrough goal for the business? What is your breakthrough goal for your professional development and personal growth? And what is your breakthrough goal for life? And so that was the left brain part, right? Where it's okay, I've got this sort of divergent right-brained, somewhat cloudy and foggy, but crystallizing view of my future in the next phase. But now I've also got this left brain convergent sense of what goals do I want to achieve this year as year one of that multi-year journey. And so for me, what I hear you speaking of, Simon, is the marriage of those two things. The marriage of the left brain work and the right brain work. And everybody, what we got to be so careful of is, if we do the left brain work without having done enough of the right brain work, then we just put a lid on our future. We just put ourselves in a glass box. We just put ourselves, under some constraints, perhaps in a groove, in a corner, that if only we'd done the right brain work, we might be able to still open that up and find another pathway forward. What do you want to say to our listeners about all of that, Simon, as we begin to land the plane here on this episode? What else do you want to say?
I love your exercise for the CEOs. And I think what you allow them to do is you give them space to think beyond what you see, beyond the box. Yeah. And you give them space. And again, I love you go get them, find a quiet spot in a winery, in nature, and where you can also access your intuition.
Yeah.
And one of the things we don't do enough, imagination. Imagination is a powerful thing. The brain is so powerful. We need to nurture the brain to imagine what could be. Not what's realistic, what could be. What are the opportunities? What are the possibilities? And having ideas that are beyond just what's ahead of me. And that creates a sense of excitement, a sense of enthusiasm. And when we can get that spark enlightened in other people, we create a different type of culture. So I love that exercise. And again, it's about marrying. It's about marinating the left and the right, the structure, the numeric with the emotional, sensory-rich side. And I think that combination is powerful and dynamo.
Yeah, because with the word dynamo or power, it empowers, it turbocharges, it gets us running on all cylinders, right? Why are we just running on half of the cylinders, the left brain cylinders, when we've got these very powerful right brain cylinders that can run as well? Let's run this thing on all cylinders and drive, onwards and upwards where we want to go. And of course, the more, picture this, imagine when, the more we can also, of course, most importantly, help people see themselves in that picture, help people see themselves in that future, help people understand that classic, WIIFM, right? What's in it for me? And what, as we open up all these possibilities for the business, what becomes possible for me, my role, my career, my livelihood, my family, my future. And that's where we really start to light a fire in people, that they will put their shoulder to the wheel like we cannot believe. And all of a sudden, we've just empowered this whole future to be much more likely to happen. A few final thoughts, Simon, to leave with our listeners before we land the plane.
One of the test is, do you viscerally experiencing it? Do you feel it in your body? You feel it in your cells?
Yeah.
And the body is a very powerful instrument. And when we feel it in our gut, sometimes we feel things in your gut. And when you're convinced, if someone believes in something, you don't listen to the words, you just feel their energy. And I think that's the power. At the end, vision is a belief about a future, about something we can accomplish, something that is possible. And that belief can move mountains. Yeah. And I think to end up with, I think we need to nurture that visioning, that visionary thinking, that deep thinking, to really imagine a place that is better for our business, for our life, and for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. And what just, pops for me even more, of course, is, well, if we're not careful, everybody, and we're leaning towards the left brain side, we're not really leading, we're managing. That is the left brain side, right? That's one way to express it. The left brain is managing, whereas the right brain is leading. We all love to be led. We all love to feel excited. I like to talk about, in my agility work, I like to talk about leadership presence. Is it an agile leadership presence? Is it a fragile leadership presence? And in particular, when a leader walks into the room, what aura walks in with them? And what anticipation and expectation does that aura create in the room? Does it change the electricity in the room? Does it change the air in the room where people are excited? Something great's about to happen. We're about to have a holistic conversation here. And yes, there's going to be the heavy part of it. We're going to have to talk about goals and numbers and quotas and milestones and deadlines and delivery, yes. But there's going to be this lighter side to it, where we're going to talk about imagine when, picture this, place yourself in that picture, possibilities and all of that. And we that's the lighter side. We feel a lift from that. Because if we're not careful, everybody, those kinds of meetings can feel very heavy, and people can dread them. And rather than feel lifted up, they're feeling just heavier and more burdened.
And drained and exhausted.
Now, we need that. We need that. But it's got to be an and proposition with the right-hand side as well, where we feel that lift and we feel that lightness and we feel that excitement and that energy. Simon, it's been a blessing to have you here today. I knew we'd continue to have a great conversation about this. Everybody, to know more, whether you are already sold and want to know more, or you're still a little bit skeptical, but you're open-minded enough to want to explore more, go find Simon. I think you said simonvetter.com, correct? simonvetter.com.
simonvetter.com.
You'll find the book there, Leading with Vision. You can find Simon on LinkedIn as well, of course, and go read the book, or indeed listen to the. Is the book on Audible as well, Simon?
It is on. Yes, it is on Audible. Yes.
And you, everybody, I tend to listen to more books than I read these days. I love that when I'm doing my yard work or my other tasks and chores around the house. So thanks for being with us, Simon. Thanks, everybody, for being here listening. Another episode of the Peering Podcast, and we look forward to catching you all next time.
Thank you, Mike.
That's it for this episode of the Peering Podcast, where we believe the best way to see the future is to peer into it together. If today sparked something for you, share it with your peers. And keep the conversation going at peeringpodcast.com. Because leadership gets clearer and the future gets brighter when we peer together. Thanks for listening. And until next time, keep peering in.